What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with Ramon. So this is the scariest looking death face we have seen in a while. His cheekbones are so pronounced up to a point. It seems like this is edited, but this is all real. No wonder why Crisito, the man who has been coaching Ramon for many years, he thinks that he is gonna finally win the classic physique Mr Olympia title. And keep in mind this is gonna be his fourth attempt. So I do not think Ramon would have pushed this hard if he did not lose that Arnold Classic title earlier this year. That just changed everything. So could this be a same kind of comeback that we saw from Ronnie Coleman when he lost to Gunther Schulkamp at the GNC Show of Strength, and then what he brought at the Olympia 2003? He just demolished that whole lineup. So Ramon's fans and the team around him, they expect the same. So Ramon was spotted doing some more detailed work, especially on his back. And this is from today. So from the Olympia 2022 to the Olympia last year, Ramon made some significant improvements in his physique. So a big factor in that was the new classic physique weight regulations, because that allowed him to bring more muscle, more fullness, and a much more bigger package to the Olympia stage last year. So I believe Ramon will be drastically improved compared to what we saw at this year's Arnold. I mean, we can all agree that was far from his personal best. So the question right now is that how much improved he would be compared to the Olympia last year, because that is the comparison that really matters. Because for his frame, he was near perfect for that show, and if he can improve on that, he is gonna be really dangerous. So this is the Olympia week, guys, and every IFB pro who has stepped on that Olympia stage in the past, he is gonna be all fired up. So James Hollingshead here, he also gives a sneak peek of what he is looking like at the moment in this off-season, which by the way started after this year's Arnold UK. And he also tells us his competition plans for 2025. So the Arnold Classic 2025, that is definitely on James's list for next year.
Like we were just watching earlier how Stefan comes across. Just cool guy, man. Cool guy. So I'm really looking forward to getting to compete under his wing. Yeah, man. I really want to get shredded now as well. The reason he's saying is that because I'm obviously going to try and apply for the Arnold again. So if I'm obviously got to get ready for the Arnold, then my diet will start sooner than... No Christmas dinner, baby.
He is gonna submit his application for the Arnold next year, and considering that he was top 5 at the same show this year, there is a very high chance that his application will be accepted. So James in this off-season, he is way over 300 pounds, and this is gonna be a much anticipated comeback. Because the thing is, this is gonna be his first prep with his current coach Stefan, and all the athletes that Stefan has worked with throughout this year in the Men's Open. Guys like William Bonac, Nathan D'Asha, Martin-Fitzwater, they have all been super shredded. And all the guys in Classic as well, like Urs Klashinsky and Wesley Wiesers. Now the main problem with James, that is his inability to follow the instructions of his coach, especially as he gets closer and closer to the competition. And that was actually one of the main reasons why he split up with Milos Sarcev just before this year's Arnold. But as of right now, it seems like James has found the right man in the form of Stefan for this year, and he is 100% satisfied with how things are looking and working with Stefan. So for a guy like James, who doesn't have the most freaky body parts, nor the top tier aesthetics, he will always have difficulty, especially in the big shows like the Arnold and the Olympia, because it is just so easy for the judges to drop him down in placings, even if he is just a tiny bit off. So he needs to bring his 100% to this upcoming Arnold. And I believe that is gonna be one of the best shows of the year. Next up, we have a 5 days out physique update from Hlbr. So for him to win in Italy, and that too in such a dominating fashion, and the fact that he still had 4 more weeks till this year's Mr Olympia after winning that show, it was absolutely expected that Hunter is gonna be a lot more shredded for this year's Mr Olympia. Now that being said, if what they say about Rafael Brandao is true, that he is way bigger than what we saw at his first show of the year, which was the Arnold Classic Ohio. Now if he is actually about 16 pounds heavier than the look that we saw at this year's Arnold, and if he can bring that same kind of conditioning, he is definitely gonna challenge Hlbr at this year's Mr Olympia for that top placing. Now with all that size, all that thickness that Hunter has, especially all that mass that he has been able to pack on in 2024, he does however have some major flaws. For instance, his midsection, that is the center part of your body, and I personally think one of the reasons Hadi Choopan looks so damn good is because of his abs, his obliques, Because the thing is, it seems like Hadi's abs, they are literally carved out of stone. This hunter that we are about to see at this year's Olympia in 5 days' time, that is miles ahead of his version that we saw at the Olympia back in 2021. That year he placed his career's best, top 4 in the world, beating a guy like Nick Walker. And even without Nick Walker in this year's Olympia lineup, this is how much the level of competition has gone up, especially in the last couple of years, that you will hardly see any predictions in which Hlbr is making top 4. So the added size, with that Tampa Pro conditioning from last year, that is gonna be really scary. And that is what Hunter is aiming for. Now let's talk about some cool interactions that we saw today. So let's start with Ramon meeting and greeting his fellow countrymen and this year's Texas Pro champion, Gabriel Zancanelli in Vegas. So speaking purely in terms of competition, Ramon and Gabriel are just on different levels. Gabriel fighting for his first ever top 10 Olympia placing, while Ramon on the other hand is fighting for the Classic Physique Olympia title, but they share that same Brazilian blood. The first ever Classic Physique Olympia champion, Danny Hester, is also in town, and he met with Urs Leshinsky. So Urs is keeping us all in total suspense, because we have absolutely no idea what kind of improvements he has been able to make since this year's Arnold UK. Because if you guys remember, that was his last show this year. Angel Calderon and Carrot Baggio from the 212 Plus, they finally met in Vegas. So these guys were top 3 and top 4 respectively at the Olympia last year. So this is also gonna be one cool battle. And who knows, maybe they will push guys like Keone Pearson and Sean Carida for the 212 Olympia title this year. So Milos Sarcev greeting Andrew Jacked and Chris Lewis, that is actually an old picture from last year. Nonetheless an awesome picture though. And that comment by Andrew Jacked, that just goes to show us how confident the man is going into this year's Mr Olympia. The reigning 212 Olympia champion Keone Pearson and Francisco Boris, who is gonna make his 212 Olympia debut this weekend, both checking in with their coach, Patrick Tour. That is another highlight from today. So Keone rates this young kid very high. In fact, he said people are gonna be really surprised on how high Francisco is gonna place at his Olympia debut this year. Next up is theMartian-Fitzwater. So this guy loves bodybuilding more than anything in the world, and him getting invited to Jay Cutler's house for an interview, that must have been a big checkbox on his list. Normally we would see him and Brett Wilkin throwing around those freaky heavyweights, but ever since he stopped training with Branch Warren, Martin became extremely smart about his training style. Longevity is the name of the game, especially when it comes to professional bodybuilding, and the kind of hype Martin has behind him going into his first ever Miss Olympia. The one example that he needs to follow, that is of Dexter Jackson, who never trained reckless at all. And we all know Dexter Jackson was injury-free throughout his career. As far as I can remember, there was only one time, back in 2018, when Dexter Jackson showed up on stage with a deformed bicep. Other than that, he was near perfect for all of those 3 decades. So Martin wants to be top 6 at his first ever Miss Olympia. And I have to say very few guys will match him in conditioning. His New York Pro peak, that was one of the most perfect looks that we saw this year. He could not have peaked any better than that. And the man right now is well on his way to beat that look. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.